This is the European Union. The EU invests tens of billions of citizens' tax money into funding cycles for research and innovation programs. These programs take place for 6 years. Through research programs, the EU gives taxpayers' money to some troubling companies, institutions and projects, such as those a part of the Israeli military sector. The EU tripled its budget for security research from one research program to the next. The current research cycle, called Horizon 2020, started in 2014. As part of Horizon 2020, the EU approved hundreds of research projects involving Israeli companies and institutions. They have received almost €500 million for their research. Companies like the drones manufacturers Elbit Systems and Israel Aerospace Industries receive millions of euro. IAI provided remote-piloted aircraft for Israeli military aggressions against both Lebanon and Gaza. Human Rights Watch have documented that Elbit and Israel Aerospace Industries' technology and weapons were used by the Israeli military to deliberately attack Palestinian civilians. The Norwegian government and several European banks have already divested from Elbit Systems because of its involvement in grave violations of international law. Technion University, which is a key research partner for the Israeli military, also received millions of euro. Elbit, Israel Aerospace Industries, Technion and others research and develop weapon systems that are used by Israel to perpetrate crimes against Palestinian civilians. EU funding to companies and institutions in the Israeli military sector fuels Israel's capacity to maintain its system of occupation, apartheid and settler colonialism. The problem is not only funding human rights violating companies, but also funding certain dual-use research projects. Dual-use research refers to research that has both military and civilian application. EU rules forbid funding for military research. However, the guidelines on dual-use allow for the development of military technology as long as the project itself aims at civilian use. In both the last 2 EU research cycles, various dual-use projects involving Israeli military entities received funding. Dual-use is a constant feature of Israeli-developed technology. EU funding to Israeli military companies raises doubts about the EU's attention to grave misconduct of companies, possible destination of technology, and future adaptation of dual-use technology. On the one hand, the EU claims to support human rights promotion, international law, and corporate social responsibility. But on the other, the EU fosters relationships with human rights violating companies that violate those exact principles, including the UN Guiding Principles for Business. The Palestinian population may incur significant impacts as a result of EU-funded dual-use security-related research with Israeli military-affiliated participants. Such dual-use research will also serve policies that violate refugee rights and lead to the militarization of our societies. The EU and its member states admit that Israel systematically violates international law through its military occupation and attacks on Palestinians. Yet they continue to reward the Israeli government and Israeli arms companies with research funding, contracts and trade deals that feed Israel's military-industrial complex. The EU must stop using taxpayers' money to finance Israeli occupation, apartheid and settler colonialism. It's time for European citizens to demand not a penny more of their tax money be spent on Israeli military companies and institutions. It's time for the EU and its member states to respect their own legislation and obligations under international law and to implement an immediate two-way military embargo on Israel. To find out more about how to get involved and to take action, check out our website www.eccpalestine.org and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. The time to act is now.